You'll just have to call them.
And
No, that's
audio
what I
and
thought I'd do.
visual.
Yeah.
So councillors, we are now live
You got-
on
you got yours.
YouTube, just for your information, both audio and visual.
Right, thank you. Well, I will declare the meeting open and welcome to any members of the public who are looking in this HR committee. Considering the full budget. What I intend to do, members, is go through all the items excepting 7, the budget, and put that at the end so that we can discuss that and if necessary go into private session and then not having to come out because we do have a couple of items want to exclude the public address. So apologies for absence and substitutions.
So we have apologies from Councillor Lambert and Councillor Toft is substituting. We have apologies from Councillor Barrow and Councillor Harris is substituting. And we have apologies from Councillor Roos, who was unable to arrange a substitute at short notice.
Thank you. Never mind. You can hear me. Yeah, you can hear me. Right. Declarations of interest.
We just need to vote on.
Oh, sorry, we need to vote on the apologies, please. Those in favour?
So we need a, sorry, Chair, we need a proposer and a second.
Yeah, I got those. Ravina and Councillor Harris. Those in favour, please show. Thank you. Any declarations of interest?
So we've had none pre-notified, Chair, and no members have sought the dispensation for any items on the agenda.
Thank you. Any councillors questions on the statements? On minutes of last meeting. Sorry, Mr. Hunt. Minutes of last meeting have been circulated. Can I have a proposal and a seconder that they be accepted as a true record of our meeting on the 13th of September? Councillor Gray, Councillor Harris, those in favour, please show. Thank you. Those against, those abstaining, one abstention. Probably because the council wasn't present for that meeting. Good. Councillor questions.
So we've had none pre-notified, Chair.
Public questions.
None pre-notified, Chair.
Information items, number 8. We've got a note on the pay settlement that came into effect last April. Similar to last year, I believe. We've got the HRKI KPIs. I don't know if you want to say a few words on that. Councillor Gray obviously wants to say a few words.
No, it's a question. That's okay.
Question.
On the actions from previous meetings, bottom one is bring forward an updated apprentice pay policy that says on hold. I think I understand the reason why. My question is there a difference between an apprentice and a trainee? Because we've got a trainee, and if we don't have a pay policy, my second question is what we're paying them.
So there is a difference. Apprentices are normally for a set period of time and they have to follow a sanctioned apprentice programme, attend college, etc. As members are aware, unfortunately, Kingston Moorwood are no longer able to offer apprenticeships within sort of the green spaces area. So we are now looking at a trainee where we will be doing that training ourselves as well as accessing specific external courses, but they won't be following the apprenticeship pathway.
So if we have a trainee, do we have a framework under which we can train? Because it feels to me like we should put our effort into that rather than bother, because we're not going to get an apprentice structure because Kingston Moorwood not doing it. So if we're going to do our own, do we have a defined structure for a trainee? Because it's important that so we don't employ them and then go, let's go.
There's two parts to that. On this specific training pathway, I'd like to defer to the assistant town clerk to answer. It's within her area. But we currently have one apprentice, and we may be looking in the future at apprenticeships, maybe based in the office, maybe further catering or resort apprenticeships. But at the moment, there isn't anything planned. So it's something it will be good to look at in the future, but it's by no means a priority at the moment, that specific policy. If I could ask the assistant town clerk to respond.
With regard to training position within the Green Spaces team, if it is approved in the budget as part of the budget setting process, we would then look at a framework and how that would work going forward. And as James, as the town clerk said, we would look at outsourcing to different day portals and so forth, but we would look at a framework and develop that.
So we don't have one, but we are planning to do that work as soon as it's approved. Okay. Right.
Thank you. So we've got the KPIs here.
Chair, so the other thing to note, in the autumn statement today, the government are putting some more money towards apprenticeships. So it's worthwhile keeping an eye on it.
It's a pity about Kingston Wood because there's plenty of greenery around this area. You'd have thought they would be looking for people who want to work out.
Is there an alternative to Kingston Wood?
There is, it's Mariswood though, and it's just too far away to expect anyone to travel from this area. Sparsholt, yeah. It will be 2 to 3, it will be 2 hours to get there, 2 hours to come back, and it's just not viable, particularly on an apprentice wage.
Sure. Couple of questions about KPIs, but they may involve reasons. So I'm just noting that I would want to ask a KPI question in the excluded session.
I'm more than happy to cover that, sharing the staffing of this.
Thank you.
Councillor.
Thank you. I'm pleased that we're continuing with the apprentices in office roles and roles where there is the backup at the college. Following on from Wales College and Kingston Moor doing this merging, given that the college was saying they were very interested in green space apprenticeships, it may be that sometime in the future we can keep pushing on that because it is a useful thing. But the fact that we're continuing to take apprentices in other fields means that we've got the policy all there in place as and when we're able to take advantage of it, doesn't it?
Councillor.
It sometimes takes a few goes.
Key finger on it.
Start. There we go.
Oh, yeah, excellent. Just to let colleagues know that I'm having a discussion with the principal of Kingston Moor College in a couple of weeks' time, with a view to looking at, what his ideas are for the merger of the two colleges. And I can certainly talk to him about this need. I was in CFAS on Monday, and one of the things they were saying is that they really want some science technician apprenticeships. And they would be paying 24,000 a year for somebody on one of those apprenticeships, but there's nobody locally who'll do those. So there's several things that we would want to talk to the college when it's merged to try and get benefit for the various companies in Weymouth that could do with some of that training.
Is that something that Budmouth are aware of then? Because it sounds as though there's a lack of communication there, doesn't there? Because in the past, CFAS didn't look locally, they always looked beyond, and they're now looking locally. Perhaps local people aren't aware of that, so it needs a sort of a publicity drive, doesn't it?
That's where, part of the reason for my visiting some of these places is to try and get at least a network going, so that information is shared between the people who might be able to answer.
Excellent.
Right. So we're going to have a question on the KPIs. Any other questions on KPIs? Right. Actions from the previous meetings. That's basically to note, is it not? Anybody got a question on those? So, forward plan. Right, so we can now go to item 7. And up.
Thank you, Chair. So just a very quick outline of this for the process side. The reason this is coming to you at this time is because the starting budget requires agreement in time to be recommended to Finance and Governance for inclusion into the draft budget, which is then recommended to full council for agreement. That final budget has to be agreed before the 30th of January because we require the budget to be set to determine the precept to be sent to Dorset Council in time for all the mechanics for issuing a council tax bill to take part. Chair, I'd like to ask if there are any specific questions on any elements of the budget or the background paper that the Deputy Town Clerk and Responsible Financial Officer Ian Milne is probably best placed to respond to those.
Okay. Questions, please. Councillor Bowden.
Forgive my ignorance, is this what we've previously been working on with inflation or? So you produced a few papers, Jane. We've made some adjustments to staffing this financial year.
Yes.
So is this budget the result of the previous budget, taking into account the changes and then adding inflation?
Not inflation as such, but an element for the future pay uplift, yes. That is included. If you look at the document that accompanied the agenda, the one that looks a bit like that, that details the budget we've been working with this year. Where it says establishment review, they're the adjustments that happened in year as approved by the committee, which if I pop it up on the screen, it will probably be a lot easier for me to sort of.
So really the question is there anything in there that the committee hasn't supported?
No, not at all. So this is last year's figure here.
Yeah.
This is everything that happened in the sort of establishment review, which came out at a very, very minimal saving compared to the budget as a whole of just over £7,000. When the pay award was added in, that came in slightly under our budget that you approved last year.
Yeah.
And it's really the figures are presented in that way, so you can see that in real terms, there's been a very slight reduction in the staffing budget. And the reason there's an increase is because of the pay settlement this year and the expected pay settlement next year. But anything more technical than that, Ian will be able to.
Okay, no, that's fine. So I just want to ask Councillor Gray, so that marries in with your expectation as well, does it?
Yes, so we have almost completed as the budget subgroup everything other than the pay budgets. And this obviously forms part of that. So we're one meeting away from, so if this is agreed tonight, it will be added to the other bits of the budget that we've set, and then it will come back to F&G for approval. But for me, I don't have any questions because it's all there. That's what's going in to the budget proposal if you vote for it tonight. I'm happy.
So you're happy with that?
I think I'm right in saying that the estimate for next April is 5%.
We have allowed for 5%. We allowed for 8% the year that we're in. It came in at 7.2. So we made a slight saving because of the 1,925 pay award. It means more to the lower end of the scale than it does to the higher. So it ranges from 3% all the way up. But overall, we allowed 8% last year in the budget working group, and it came in at just over 7. This year we're allowing for 5, given where the numbers are going and what's gone previously. That's the same number that, well, I can't say that. It's around what other councils are putting by 5. So I don't think it'll be more than 5. If it comes in less, then the contingency will be there.
Does anyone want something?
Just for clarification, really, Chair, if I may, just picking up on Councillor Bergman's points, the starting point for producing a budget is always the establishment, as adjusted for all of the amendments which have been agreed by the HR committee previously. In terms of just picking up on Councillor Gray's point, he's quite right, we've allowed 5% within the new budget, and we've also allowed 10%, which are caveat for casual staff. And members may look at us and think, well, 10% seems rather high, but that's purely because you'll recall we are a real living wage employer, so our casual staff paid is a real living wage, and that's gone up from £10.90 to £12 an hour, which is basically 10%. I probably would bring into members' attention, there is a couple of changes to the establishment which have agreed, if the establishment's agreed, I just think it's worth noting. We have removed 2 posts from the establishment as part of this process, and those 2 post members may recall, particularly if you're on the Finance and Governance Committee, there's 2 posts within Parks and Open Spaces, or Green Spaces as it's called now, to do with a skilled worker and the apprentice position, which we don't have the apprentices anymore, but we have taken those 2 posts out, and we have put in there a trainee gardener post, which you'll see on the establishment there, and obviously that trainee post, we have got a ageing workforce in that area, and I think it's important we start planning for the future and try and ensure that we've got the skills and new staff to be able to take over those posts when the retirements do come along. And the other change to the establishment, which I think is probably worth highlighting, and again, just to tackle up and clarify on that, is there's the inclusion of a resource officer permanent post, but there has been a reduction in the casual staffing budgets for the resort team, and the principle behind that is the resort team have taken on over the last year and a bit services around events, cleansing, catering. So the need to have all-round support has increased because they're all-round services, albeit they're more busy during the summer. So we also want to increase the impact that the staff have on the resort as a whole, which again is the for the town centre, which is a year-round thing. So they established, which has reduced the casual staff and increased the post, permanent post by 1. I don't know if you just want to add anything to it. So just to be aware that the base was all of the amendments which have been approved, but there's those 4 amendments, 2 additions, 2 reductions, which have been put into place.
The net result is the same.
Thank you, Chairman. Two questions, 1 question, 2 questions. First of all, in the autumn statement, there was talk about raising the basic living wage, and that's gone up by 10%. What does that do to our position?
So the real living wage was announced prior to the autumn statement today, but it did go up from £10.90 to £12 for the real living wage. I think, if I'm right, David, you may know better than I think the living wage was around £11.44, I think it was announced today, and with the real living wage is £12.
And it's not going to change again for another 12 months?
No.
All right, good, thank you. And the second question is, with this casual staff that we've been having for the resort team in particular, I was talking to the chair of the Civic Society Trust and what they pay in Knowle Ford. And it was quite interesting because what they've done there is they've recognised that they need the casual staff, especially for the summer, obviously, but they want to try and have staff on a long-term 12-month contract wherever possible. So the contracts that they've arranged allow for more hours in the summer, less hours in the winter, and as a consequence, it may balance out at 30 hours a week, and they pay them for 30 hours a week all through the year, even though they're working 45 hours maybe in the summer and only 25 hours in the winter. Have we got anything similar?
So that's very similar to our annualised hours contracts that we do have for the resort team. So currently they work a similar process where they work additional hours in summer and they've reduced to like 3 days in the winter, 4 days in the winter.
Do they get paid the same amount every
Absolutely,
week?
yes, so they get paid a salary.
Thank you.
Good, councillor Gray.
It was a suggestion. I mean, I think the quality of the report's good. I mean, I think HR's getting better at the, sort of dovetailing in. One thing I'd like to see though is, I'm going to ask the question, what vacancies have we got? And it would be good just to have it on every time we update the HR. I've just put whether the vacancy there, 'cause it's a visual. I think we've got 2, maybe 3. Okay. Can you just highlight those?
So on this, so the resort officer is a new post not recruited to. The trainee
Yeah.
is a new post not recruited to. We currently have a vacancy for a democratic and civic officer, but we do have someone starting on the 4th of December, and I can update you on that later. Contracts and procurement officer is a vacancy, and I will update on you later.
Okay.
And
What's more, we've got one arborist vacancy. We've also got a catering supervisor vacancy and a cleansing operative vacancy.
So it'd be good to have that on that sheet and just regularly update, 'cause it's just a visual guide to us to say we've got 6, and that's you've just said, I think 6 are counted there, so it is substantial in a establishment of 50. It's not so crucial this time, well, yeah, it's not so crucial this time of year, but other than the civic and democratic, but it'd be good to know that as a committee. Thank you.
Okay, so I'll just ask a question, accepting that we do have vacancies, but are you, the team up here, are you happy with the proposed establishment going forward? Right, thank you.
Can I propose then that we accept that?
Proposed, Councillor Harris, seconded for Gray, those in favour? 2, unanimous. Now.
is that for both elements of the recommendation? Just the
Yeah.
agree the figure and then agree that that's recommended to,
Yes,
it's just a little bit of process there. Thank you.
right. So, we now come on, I find it, to exclusion of the public and press. With under the Public Bodies Admissions to Meetings Act 1960, members of the public and press are required to leave the meeting due to the sensitive nature of the item next to be considered relating to individual members of staff, performance, terms and conditions, etc. Can I have a proposer? I propose it. Second, Councillor Gray. Those in favour, please show. Unanimous. Thank you. Yeah, yes.